Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio. This metal detecting talk with Derek and Craig, I guess you could say. Just have a hard time giving titles to all these shows and everything, so I just throw up a date, Craig, anymore. Some of the people do episode one, season whatever, and I think that's the way Lloyd and them do it. And I just kind of just put the dates down anymore because, by golly, we're just going to talk about metal detecting and stuff like that. So we'll just leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
But, well, Craig and Craig went out. Well, why don't you tell them, Craig? You went out a little bit today or yesterday. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny what you found. Not that it was like a gold coin or anything like that, but it was just surprising.
Yeah. Well, it just shows how crazy metal detecting is. But I went out in my yard yesterday. It's been really cold. We've been having down to like 17 was a low this morning, so I didn't even get out. And the yard was just frozen most of the day. But anyway, I went out and I was hunting for about an hour, and I really hadn't found anything. I was using the Bliss tool, and I decided to hunt over where I found the flying eagle scent. And of course, after I found the flying eagle scent, and I'd covered that area with other machines before I even found that one. But I don't know. I think it was, the interference with it's close to the house and it's close to the power lines out front. But anyway, I start sweeping over there and I get this banging signal and I go, oh my God, and I'm checking it and it's coming back in both directions. It's just hitting hard and it just sounded really good. And I thought, man, that sounds like a coin. And so I flipped the plug and I see a coin in the dirt, stuck in the dirt, and it looks like a dime. And I thought, it's only like 4 inches deep. I'm like, what? And so before I pull it out, I look at it, and it almost looks, I think it's silver, and I know it's a Roosevelt dime, so I pull it out, and I look at it, and it's a 1965 Roosevelt. And I was like, oh, man.
It's like a tease, brother, tease.
Yeah, 1 year away, that's the bad thing about silver and, certain rare coins you can find. You're 1 year off, or 1 year from getting like a seated instead of a Harbor
or a Mercury or what, yeah.
Instead of a Roosevelt. So
Yeah.
1 year. 1 year can kill you in this hobby.
Yeah. It's always, if I need to find a 53D, I always find a 53, whatever. It's not the one I want. That's still a coin, though.
I was looking at a couple YouTube things today, and one of them was it's a YouTube channel called Mind Lab Metal Detectors, and they give tips and stuff. This one was called Equinox Tech Tip as settings for silver hoard hunting. And it's pretty interesting. He was saying that, he was showing how you can stack a thing of silver coins and it'll pick up the mass of it,
Right.
But anyway, they were talking about trying to get stuff, almost 3 feet deep. And so the best settings that people have come up with is one on the recovery speed. You go into FE at 0, and you go to 5 kilohertz, which is the deepest.
For high conductors,
setting. Yeah, but it's even deeper than any of the multi-frequency ones, 5 kilohertz. I didn't know that before. So if anybody has a good spot and it's not yielding anything more, maybe try those settings, go into 5 kilohertz and then, start moving down on the recovery speed and go real slow. But I thought that was pretty interesting settings. So
what is he using? He's using a roll of quarters, or what is he doing?
No, he
at
was
that depth.
They were using they were using about $8 I think, something like that.
Yeah, because it's like I've found that it depends. Probably would depend on how they were in the ground and stuff. You're dealing with surface area too. I mean, when you're talking,
they weren't really burying them, but they were showing in an air test.
Oh, okay, I get it.
But supposedly these are settings that people had tested, in the field, and so burying stuff and whatnot.
I've never really tried, other than the bliss tool. I hadn't really tried a lot. I mean, I did it with the whites, and it just went into negative numbers. For those of you using the White Spectra V3 or V3i, VX3, whatever, they're all some of them have more adjustments and stuff. And
the same with this was that they probably won't. They may not read on the meter, but you will hear a tone.
Right. Well, that's what I was getting at. Is that a lot of detectors. I mean, once they get past, it's right at the verge of detection depth type thing, or right. The VDIs and stuff like that, the sound will come through, but the VDI will be all over, or maybe in the negative numbers, may read as iron because it's just so deep it can't tell exactly what kind of metal it is, but it can tell there's something there. I ran into that. I buried a quarter at like 12 inches down. I had the whites, and it was giving me like a negative 93, which is supposedly iron, and with the whites machine, it goes from a negative 95, I think it was, to 0, and then from the positive side, from 0 to plus 95, and usually around 86 or something like that was a quarter, and I think it went a little higher for silver quarter, but it was just so deep that the machine knew something was there. That's why I use the VDI numbers as a reference kind of thing more than anything else. I know if it's jumping between these numbers or the amount that it's jumping, if it's only like 5 numbers either way, it's a pretty good chance that it is in a non-ferrous target, where if you're jumping like, I don't know, 10 to 90 or something like that, it just really doesn't know what it is, or it's probably a piece of junk metal mixed in with some stuff and everything else. It just and that's with the older machines too, or the machines other than like the Equinox, other than the Simplex. I noticed that like with the AT Pro also, that if it was jumping, if the VDI numbers were jumping from 0 to like 30, 35, I mean, I would still dig it, but it's just not locking on. More than likely, it's not going to be necessarily a desirable target, or it's going to be a strange thing, where if it's jumping into the 60s, it turned out to be a bullet of some kind. It's just some examples, more or less. And I'm sure, with adjustments and stuff, you could probably get that narrowed down a little bit. With these newer machines, it's pretty much, it seems like it's a lot more accurate. I know even with the Quest, like I was using the Quest Pro, Craig, when the pinpoint mode, I mean, it was dead on. I mean, it was like, if it was buried at 8 inches, reading 8 inches, 9 inches, 10 inches, whatever. It was pretty solid on a dime-sized target. But I've had machines where, just off the top of my head, like the MX Sport, where I watched several videos on that, and it's like the guy says, okay, this is a target 4 inches down or 7 inches down on the meter. And he digs it, and every one of them was 4 inches down. So, I mean, there is the calibration, or they're only accurate to a certain depth. I guess you can't rely on it totally. You're going to want to rely on the sound. The sound's going to be more accurate for whatever reason. It just is. At least that's what I have found. Especially like with the Simplex we were just talking about. I told Craig, it's like when you dig something with the Equinox, and he digs 2 or 3 or 4 nails out with it, and I do the same thing with the Simplex. It tells me that, I at least know when I hear a high pitch or higher pitched tone, that there's going to be non-ferrous in there, 90% of the time. And that's what I found with that, with the Simplex. And Craig, you do it all the time with the Equinox, and that's something that's been different, more often than not different than the other machines that we've used. The other machines haven't been, I'm not going to say as accurate. It just seems different.
They haven't been fast enough.
Maybe that's what it is. Even a Deus. I mean, a Deus is a good machine and everything, but it doesn't.
you can hear it on that, on the simplex. How zippy, 'cause zip,
Oh
zip,
my
zip, zip.
God, yeah.
You know, even on those real faint signals, it's repeatable. You can hear it.
Hmm.
But I also think that sound almost gives you like a depth reading, almost the way that the sound
It
is on that machine.
it does definitely
Uh,
when you have a shallower target, it's definitely the modulation's a lot higher. It's a lot louder. Um, Generally, when you get a deeper target, they're quieter. You don't have that zippy sound or grindy sound on it as much. But also, when you pinpoint with this machine, with the simplex, if it's a target that's shallower, you only get this like little dot. Like if it's I don't know, like we'll say a quarter at like 2 or 3 inches down in the ground, and you do the pinpoint mode, you'll have like this one little circle. If it's like, you know, we'll say 5, 6, 7 inches down, you'll get like a dot, and then there'll be a circle around it. And if it's really deep, you'll get a dot, a circle, and then a circle farther out, like a bullseye. And it just tells you that this is going to be a deep item, which I don't see it in the manual like that, but that's what I've noticed on the screen itself. But you also have your depth. They don't give you a depth number like 1 inch, 2 inch. They have a little bar graph or whatever that does that. It just that's when I pinpoint in on the target that I want. When you have mixed targets in the ground, I try to pinpoint it right over where I think the non-ferrous target is, and then I'll scan again. I'll swing the coil again, and just repeatedly do that. I do that in my video. It just gives me more information. Most of the time, if I wasn't videoing, I probably would just dig it. I mean, Craig and I are like that. If we get a good, okay, it's a good high tweak boom, let's dig it. It has to be non-ferrous in there, but to kind of get my ear wrapped around it and hopefully help others understand what it's doing, I'll scan it again. And if I open up the hole, I'll scan again, just to see how much the VDI number will change. Because a lot of times, if you're getting, I've gotten like 30s and 40s, take a big scoop out of the ground, go back over it. Oh, now it's reading the 60s and the 70s, and you get another scoop and it's reading 80s. It turns out to be some kind of big piece of brass, copper, whatever, something significant. I think those lids were doing it, Craig. Those old 1920 screw cap lids for like, I don't know what they're for, rouge or some kind of cold cream or something like that. They just bang right through once you get the hole open real good. But the pocket watches did that too. So I've dug 3 pocket watches on that property already, but they're pretty well toast. But there's a lot of little tells with that simplex. Not only sound, but what the readings are when you pinpoint. I did notice a definite difference between field and park. And I'll hunt in park, but I'll switch over to field when that park can't give me a VDI number. I switch over to field, and then it'll give me a somewhat of a VDI number. It'll give me an idea of what I'm dealing with, and every target is relatively deep. I mean, I have a few shallow targets, but
it's like a boost.
Yeah. Well, it's running at different tones. It's probably running maybe a slower recovery delay, I would think, for a field mode, a little bit. I mean, it's still quick. I mean, it's no doubt about it. I guess I want to start checking it in the beach mode and in all metal. I don't know if the all metal will even give me a VDI number, but I never really thought about that. But it's only giving you a single tone. It's almost like the pinpoint mode. It's going to give you that same kind of sound. But I was kind of curious about the beach mode, how it's reading up. It's just, a different sound too. That's what kind of got me. It's not confusing. I think it's better. But, when you're in field and then you're in, it has a different tones than a field or a park mode. It's a different kind of sound, I think. But, there's a lot of information in it. In that sound, you can kind of figure stuff out relatively quickly. But I noticed that it doesn't hit on like shotgun shells, stuff that's not so desirable. It seems to bounce around a little bit more than when you're over a coin. In my testing with the machine, when I'm over a dime or something, man, it just locks on, or a penny. It's dead on 65. If the coin is like maybe between 5 and 7 inches down in the ground. And I've dug along a curb side a little bit. And I was getting caught up a little bit with the aluminum, but that's just the necessary evil. You're going to hit can slaw, you're going to hit cans, pull tabs, but even the pull tab locked on. I think it was 29 or 30 on the BDI. It just locked on right there. The old school pull tabs, you get them good too. I mean, I don't know. I really don't mind digging aluminum, Craig. I mean, you got to get it out of the way anyways. It's kind of like the zinc mason jar lids. I mean, zinc's going to come through like silver, actually better. It's a very high conductor. It just bangs right through. Even with the bliss tool, I couldn't discriminate that out. The zinc just pounds. I guess these new pennies, these ones with the shield on them. I guess we need.
Yeah, they're 98% zinc and 2% copper.
Right.
That's why the copper evaporates in the ground in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, you was trying to hit them. Like bury a penny at a regular standard pre-1936 penny, which is all copper, and then put one of the brand new shield pennies in there. And see how deep I bet you get the shield penny deeper than you would the copper penny, because that zinc is it just stands out so much. But you got to dig the mason jar lids anyways. I mean, it could be a jar of coins or whatever. I mean, it could be something in it. I mean, I've dug about 3,000 of those things and haven't got a jar of coins yet, but I'm still trying.
About 250 of those came out of my yard.
Oh God, these are everywhere.
Yeah, it's like people used to can a lot, back in the old days, and they didn't have trash services. I remember this one 1850 house I did in Alexandria, and didn't find much. I couldn't find anything in the backyard. I tried a couple little signals, and when I dug, there was you could see the iron, and it was like so many pieces of pot shard you would dig up. I mean, it was like the layer of it, maybe 4 or 5 inches deep over the whole backyard.
Mm.
But around the front yard, I dug like V-nickels and Indian heads and stuff, and even a couple Civil War bullets. And the yard next door was it was a modern house, and the whole yard, the front yard was really big. The house set kind of back, and the whole front yard was full of bullets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you just, some of these sites, they've got so much. They're so busy that some detectors just have super hard problems even working. I remember, like my yard, I'm finding that, even the Deus is struggling, and the Equinox one, some of this stuff, but some of the other detectors, like the Bliss tool in some areas, I just couldn't cut through it, no matter what I did.
Yeah.
If I accepted more iron, it was so noisy, you just don't, if you run it at 10 on the knocking out all the iron, then you just hear a little bit of hiss there, but you don't realize how much iron's in the ground. But you take like a wide open machine and run it over the ground. I did that with the Equinox. You got a horseshoe, and you can just click it, and it turns the machine into all metal.
Right.
And man, you just every sweep is like da 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 da. I got this one where it's going.
Yeah, you got different. You had different targets in the ground. Yeah, well, and it's like when I'm hunting that site over there. Every site I have, I always end up with the trashiest sites. It seems like, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing, because it really does teach you a lot about your detector, what you're listening for. You have a lot of surprise finds. Even the site I'm on now, I mean, I consider that like unlayering. It's probably one of the more. It's a difficult practice to do, is unlayering, because you do get so many other signals, and you kind of have to be disciplined. If I'm going to dig unless it just stands out. You get some of those signals. I got to dig this. It's quiet. It's repeatable. I get it in both directions. I'm not getting a VDI number, but man, it's there. I can hear it. And I would say that I'm kind of blessed with this site because it's like 75% of the stuff I dig it would be considered. A relic hunter would consider a good find. And I'm only ended up with a little bit of what a trash kind of thing. I think I ended up with a 5 gallon bucket of junk, probably. I mean, more than likely, but I have 3 or 4 buckets of good stuff. Different pieces of cast iron and brass, and they're all dated. Then I have really good stuff that that I put out on the table and stuff. And Pauline told me I need to get out there and do that and put out all the stuff that I have so far. This has only been, I think I've hunted that site about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times, probably about 4 hours each time. Well, one day I went out there for 7.5 hours and about killed myself out there just trying. I was so tired from digging, Craig. It wasn't funny, but when I'm digging these targets, it's like every one of them is like it's over 7 inches down. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, I don't mind that, but when I'm scanning the ground, you can hear those other beeps I'm getting. Those are signals, whether they're faint or not, or they're maybe nails or whatever else. There's something else in the ground all around there. I'm just trying to go with the most obvious, the best sounding, because if anything else, even if it is a piece of cast iron, it's masking up everything in the area. With about a foot around it. Some of this iron I'm digging, and I have iron that's in the ground, like a pipes. There's several. Well, there's one blacksmith part. I'm just killing me. I'm going to go dig that next time, Craig. Just to dig it all the way out of the ground, whatever it takes, because it's bothering me what it could be. I know it was blacksmith. I could tell by the end that I saw that it was flattened and a hole knocked through it. It wasn't drilled. It kind of looks like old blacksmith parts, but it's in the ground lengthwise. It's like 2 or 3 foot long, and it's probably about, I don't know, 7, 8 inches, probably a little bit more than that, probably about 10 inches down in the ground. What is it masking up around it or above it? There could be anything, and that's a big enough piece of iron to really mess with the metal detector pretty good. And I'm getting those high hits, those high pitched or higher tones or whatever around it. Whether they're faint or not, it doesn't really matter. That means there's some kind of non-ferrous down there with it. It may be a shotgun shell, it could be a coin. You never know. I have no doubt I'm going to unmask a bunch of coins. It's going to be a coin haven on that property eventually. I just got to get through all this stuff. There's all kinds of different stuff on top within the first 7, 8 inches of the ground. So, but I haven't dug a coin yet. I know it's there though. I'm just thinking too many other good things, and just there's too much activity for there not to be coins right there. But I'm going to try to head over to the church property. I did that for years with the whites, with the bliss tool, with the Thesauro and everything else, and I want to take the simplex over there. And it's the same site that I took Mike Miller and Mark Hoover to, and let them hunt for a while. And Mike found a Mercury dime. I think Mark found a couple bling rings and stuff like that. I'm just going to take the simplex over it because with this unmasking capability, I really want to see what it's going to do. I mean, I dug this one spot. I had a button spill. All the buttons, all kinds of different buttons, all in one, like within about a 3 foot square area. So I want to take the simplex in there and see if I can get any more buttons out of there. I probably dug 50 buttons out of that little area. So, but I just have to go back, and it's probably been 2 years, I think, since I've been on that site. And I'm just going to take it in there and see what it'll do. I mean, I know I'll dig more stuff. I know there's stuff there to be found. It's just so much of it, But if you're not able to unmask it with your detector, you'd be digging like a rototiller. Just trying to get the stuff out of the ground. So, yeah, it's kind of like your house, Craig. I mean, I know you got more stuff in that yard. There's no doubt about it. You just, you got to get through all the nails and everything. You got such a nail bed right there.
Yeah, I want to try those settings, with the, for depth, you know, and
Hmm.
they're probably pretty, you know, they'd be good for 5 kilohertz. You probably pick up more iron, sounding good
Well, listen for the
than you would
faint
with,
signal. You know what I mean? The faint iron
yeah.
signal. Because I know you have to have artillery shells. If your neighbor's digging artillery shells out of his yard, there's got to be a couple in your yard. There's no doubt about it. You're only, you know, what, 30 feet away or something like that.
Well, we dug, you know, uh, most of a Borman cannonball and then part of a Shingle shell. So, the guy across the alley, he just dug a lot of fragments and then one half of a Britain shell. It's about a 9.5 pounder. It's kind of an oddball looking one,
Hmm.
but it's pretty rare. I'd never even heard of one before.
Well, you
But,
know, they had so many different, even the bullets. I mean, I have to really contact Craig most of the time because, you know, if I find a weird bullet, because Craig, you know, well, you know a lot of them. I mean, nobody knows all of them because there was like 2,000 different rounds they used, you know, different guns and everything else at the beginning of the Civil War. So, you know, a lot of us are, you know, we find the three ringers and 69 calibers and the sharps and the Enfields and the, but I mean, well, there's a lot of strange bullets too that I find around here that I have no clue what the heck, other than going by weight. I mean, it's almost like they got the patina on the inside, that, you know, the end of the bullet. They might be copper jacketed or not jacketed. God, it's like a one ringer, Craig. I don't know what there's some kind of pistol bullet, but if you look at the back side of the bullet, it looks like the patina of the lead. It's all white, so it has to be. You know, I would think at least early 1900s, anyways. I'm trying to think of what
yeah.
caliber. I never really got into weighing the bullets and all that to figure out what caliber they are, I guess, but or the size of them. I guess I need to get a micrometer or something like that and probably be able to tell. But I see a lot of other guys dig the same kind of bullet up north, you know, in Tennessee and Georgia and all that. So it very well could be a, you know, probably late 1800s bullet, probably somewhere in there. God knows I dug enough of them this past summer. Bullets and shotgun shells, that's all I dug. So.
I remember years ago, I found this friend of mine's property markers, and we were having trouble finding the last one. And we finally figured out because he was on a cul-de-sac, it was further back. So I was kind of swinging back that way, and I got a really good discriminant signal, you know. And I said, "Wait a minute, I got to dig this, see what it is." And it was this bullet, and it looked like a Sharps bullet that the tip had been cut off, and it turned out to be a rare picket bullet, and they were basically two in a mold, and then they cut the bullet, the sprue between them. So you know, sometimes you know you find these oddball bullets. I've seen people say, "Oh, you know, this isn't anything," you know, and I go, "Oh man," I said, "No, that's actually a bullet, you know, Civil War bullet." You know, there's if you saw a Carcano, it's got these big rings around it going up. I mean, it looks like a work of art instead of a piece of, you know, real bullet. It's like a Carcano Italian bullet. They were like rare in this one area. They were going for, I don't know, something like a couple $100 a piece.
Oh my God!
And a guy was sweeping around, and there was on one side of the creek was a dug-in camp, and then on the other side of the creek was nothing. You didn't see anything, and people kind of given up on the site. And he went across to the other side, and it turned out they had tents over there, but they didn't have any. They didn't dig in. It was late summer, early fall camp, and he found, I think it was like, I don't know, 1,000 of these Carcanos, and the whole market dropped because he found these, you know, and then people went nuts. I was talking to a guy the other day, and I asked him about a guy that I'd been out. I'd seen the guy hunting, you know, on sites over the years, you know, a lot of places, and he was legend, and so I found out that he's still hunting. He's in his 70s now, and but the one of the crazy finds that I heard that he found a few years ago. They were bulldozing a site right behind the Stafford Courthouse, and that was there during the Civil War, and all up and down that whole road was Civil War camps and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he found over 1,000 bullets in one hole.
Oh my God! Yeah, you get tired of looking at them after a while, but it's kind of cool to find that.
Yeah, I think it was like 2,500 or something like that, or I don't know. It took him like half the night to get him back to the car. Walk, dragging a whole pouch full of them at a time.
That's where
bullets are heavy.
Yeah, 10 pounds becomes 510 pounds by the time you hit the car with it. Yeah. I go back and forth. I mean, you see me on camera. I got to go back, take this back to the car or set this on the pole. I'll have a stack, and John will come out there. My God, you're digging more iron out of my yard. I said, yeah, brother, look at all that stuff. And I got stacked up on the fence poles there because I don't want to let the cows out. Trying to carry everything out. So I go and take a break, from detecting, and I have to empty my fine bag or whatever it is, and I'm picking up all these, stuff I've stacked up by the fence there, and I got a pile going on of brick and weird cut stones and everything else over by that water trough on that property. He goes, man, what are you going to do? Make a rock garden? I said, well, I don't know. I may put it right here because the cows, just compress that ground so much. I don't know if you noticed in the video or not, where the water trough is, the ground, it's just like, because the cows walking on time, it's got it squashed down like about a foot below everything else, and it's just, all those targets are getting just pounded into the ground. I'm surprised, actually. Some of the stuff I've dug, that he hasn't had a cow come up lame or something. I've seen some, like wire, just sticking out of the ground, like about 3 or 4 inches out of the ground, and it's like a heavy ground wires and stuff. I've pulled so much stuff out of that pasture that, and he's kind of shocked, because I don't know, it looks like a regular old pasture with, like rocks sticking up in some places and stuff, but it's just it's a good strange, it's just a strange sight. And, it just, I don't know, you just really don't know what you're going to dig, Craig. I have no clue. I mean, I know what the VDI says. I know what the machine says, but I'm digging up. It could be a 1800s item. It could be a 1920s item. I don't dig very much anything newer than 1950. I don't think I've dug very many things new, other than a soda can or a beer can. From like the old the ones you had to punch hole in, with a can opener kind of thing. I found a couple lids like that, like from old Milwaukee can or something like that. They used to have to use the regular can opener on a beer can kind of thing. But I don't find any really. I think I found one square tab, and I found 3 pull tabs. Like, that's it. So I don't have very much modern trash on there. So pretty much everything is going to be, if I do find aluminum, it's probably going to be a beer can. But I've only found 1 or 2 on that property. I do dig aluminum screw caps, from the 20s. Bill was asking me, Bill Marsh was asking me on the chat right here whether I ever opened up the lids on those Rouge containers and stuff, or whatever the cold cream, whatever they are, the Woodbury. And I had one pop off there in the bigger jar, and there was nothing in it, just dirt. I probably need to try to get the other lids off there, because I think it was Giant 057 or something. I don't know his real name, but he's been putting out videos for a long time, and he found a Princess Pat Rouge container. It's like about the size of a $50 or something like that, and it's a Rouge container from the 1920s, and his had a gold coin, a $2 gold piece in it. I've never been that lucky. All I get is the the junk that's left in there, So, you never know. People stick stuff, in weird places, you just never know what you're going to get. But, a couple of the sites that I'm kind of disappointed I never got to really hunt since I found out that they found, a couple catches of coins and stuff like that in. They're already built over, Craig. I mean, they got a park in one, and they got some kind of a signage put up and everything fancy. Where another one was found, and they find them in. That's why I always kind of say that Big Iron, you got to dig it because around here, they've had two pretty good finds, and it's actually been kids, playing out in the yard at their grandparents' house, and they dig up an old syrup container, and it's full of silver coins. Probably I don't know how many, probably I don't know 70 or 80 coins in there. Well, when you're detecting, you're not going to pick up the silver if it's inside of a metal can. So if you get an overload or I don't know, just a really good iron signal, I mean, it's going to mask up everything around it anyway, so just dig it out. I mean, I always try to, since I started detecting, I try to dig 10 targets that I just pretty much think are iron, but they're really big. And usually I always get something decent. Iron relic wise. So, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, if you get something cool, you might, and a lot of people don't think about, wagon parts and bayonets and rifle barrels and handguns and just anything, even horseshoes and stuff like that. Some people like finding. If anything else, you're getting it out of the way. Because there could be, 4 or 5 coins underneath that. Your detector can't really get through that thick iron. If it's directly underneath it. Sometimes, if you hit it at the right angle and stuff. But that's why, too, with metal detecting a site, Craig and I will work site this way and that way and every which way. Where, some of the other people I know only work a site, 1 or 2 times and they're kind of done. We try to hit it from different directions, grid it off. If it's a real good site, I'll even go diagonally, Craig. If it goes one way, north and south, and then east and west, and I'll do southeast, southwest, whatever I got to do, because a lot of targets, if they're turned on edge, or you won't hit them, you won't get them in certain directions. I've done that several times on this property over here. It just it doesn't want it right there. There's too much iron right there. But if I turn 90 degrees, I get a damn clear signal. So it's just.
But if you get like a penny or a dime at 8 inches deep, it's on edge. You're just not going to, I don't think hardly any detector is going to hear that.
No, the deepest I've got, I think it was the Bliss tool with the 11-inch coil. I can get a dime at 5.5 inches down, totally on edge. I can get a quarter at 8 inches down. And I think a nickel at 7 on edge. That's the best outcome I've had out of VLF detectors anyways. And that's not very big surface area either. I mean, we're talking, it's not even not even a quarter of an inch surface area, when you're doing, when you go over a certain direction.
Oh, it's tiny. It might pick up some of the mass of it, but it's not going to pick up the surface area.
No, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Plus, how many people are going to dig those signals anyway? I remember, I got a 1861 dime one time. It was maybe 2 inches deep, and it was straight up and down, and it read nickel.
Yep.
And actually a tiny bit of below nickel, and I was thinking it was going to be a button, so.
Right.
It was, to me, it was a diggable signal, but, I'm wondering, that could happen, when you're coin hunting in a park or something. You could get and you don't want nickels, you want silver coins or wheat pennies or whatever. And so you'd be going just for those signals. And there's probably, silver dimes and, pennies and stuff that are on edge that aren't going to read right.
Well, that too being said, Craig, some of these people always go, it has not, you can notch out this, you can notch out that. And that's okay. I mean, I never felt a need to really notch out any item. I just know that if I'm getting, whatever, we'll say pull tabs, and they're at a 30. I know, I want to dig it anyways, but at 30, okay, it's probably a pull tab. Let's dig it out anyways. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Now, if you're in a park, you don't want to dig 5 million pull tabs, so you just don't dig 30s. You dig, 50s or 60s or whatever. It's the difference between coin shooting and relic hunting, I guess, or the situation you're in. If you're in somebody's front yard and they got a kind of a sculptured yard or whatever you want to call it, fancy grass, you don't want to dig 50 holes there, so you have to be more selective. So I guess you could notch it out, but I mean, as from a relic hunter standpoint, anything I get a solid repeatable signal on, I'm going to dig it. And you'd be surprised, like with the Equinox, it goes what up to 40 on the VDI, something like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, well, with the Simplex, it goes 0 to 95, I think it is. So, but you'd be surprised how many targets I dig that are actually good targets that are 30 and below, between 4 and 30. I dig a lot of cool stuff. I mean, the buttons and stuff like that usually come in around between 17 and 25. The copper brass buttons and stuff. I dig those signals. I dig 4s all day long because I know it's cast iron. It just pops through nice and clear. But I don't dig very many nails, thinking that they're good targets. I think I've dug 2. Everything else I've dug, nail wise, has come out of the hole with non-ferrous items. And, a significant amount.
The lowest number I've dug that was a good, something good was 3, and it was a tiny flat button that still had the shank on it. But, it sounded good. I could, when I went over, that's like what normally would be probably tinfoil. But, it sounded, to me, it sounded brassy, when I went over it. But, it's, I've heard people that say they won't dig below 11. 11 is the highest. Yeah, 11 is actually, I think, a $1 gold piece supposed to read on the Equinox.
But you're also talking depth too. That's what I try to get a few people to understand, that just because you get, okay, say, we'll just use a penny with the whatever, the penny reads up at 65 on the Simplex. At least it does. At least the last couple I've dug. But what I noticed with the Quest and several other detectors before it, as the item gets deeper in the ground, it reaches that farther and further down at detection depth. And it may not read 65. It may read, 50 something or 40 something, but it's repeatable. As the item gets deeper, it gets harder for the detector to judge what it might be. So it's telling you there's something good down there. It just, it's a good, positive signal, but it's not going to be the right VDI. So hunting by VDI is it's a give or take. It's probably going to take more than it's going to give sometimes, because you're only good. A lot of the detectors are only good to, 5.5, 6 inches on the VDI. Back in the, we're talking, 10 years ago. And it just, after 5 inches, it just couldn't tell what a dime was for sure. It wasn't giving you a solid repeatable as far as a VDI number.
I've heard, like on the 15 by 12 inch coil in the Equinox, you can get a 14 inch dime, but it only gives a midtone.
Right.
And I see, I've been watching, I was going to buy the bigger coil. I think I still am, but, I decided to get the little one first because I was watching how, good Seven and this guy Greg that does Find in America, how good they were doing, and with these small coils. And
right.
you can, I showed it in one of the videos, I could actually get right up against the fence, and scrape the fence and still get a good signal, and, with you got an 11 inch coil, you wouldn't be able to hear that signal, doing the same thing. So, and I've been watching these guys in these thickets, they're like in the middle of the woods, and, these are spots that have been hunted for years, and they got these little tiny coils in there, and they don't really use the coil. They don't worry about the BDI numbers. They're just listening, to the signals, to just trying to get signals out of the ground. And It's amazing. They can get right up in the little nooks and crannies in the middle of the sticker bushes and stuff, and pull all this cool stuff out. And this is some of these places they've been hunting for 5 years, or longer, and they're still pulling stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was saying.
I've done the same thing in my yard with that little 6-inch coil. I was amazed. That's the smallest coil I've ever used. I've never had it. All the machines over the years, I never had like a sniper coil ever. Always, probably the smallest coil I ever had was a 7-inch. But
I used the one from White's, the concentric coil, the 5.3. I had, like I said, I dug that one nickel, V nickel at every bit of 15 inches down. It's unheard of for that size. I just hit it at the right. I just got it was a good target. I mean, it was able to hit it for some reason. There was nothing else in that hole, and never did. I stick my pinpointer all along the sidewalls and everything else, and but that's huge depth for 5.3. That's 5.3 inch coil. But the concentric coil is the cone shape. Maybe I hit it just right, and it sounded through. I really thought it was going to be a piece of aluminum from a siding. That's why I was digging on that site right there. But it had older. I dug in, Indian heads and stuff like that through there, so I knew there's a possibility. But when I was digging it, I'm like, oh my God, this thing is so deep. I'm digging. There's no way this is it. But I'm still getting a signal, so I'm gonna keep on digging. I really, at first I thought I was gonna maybe get a gas line or a sprinkler system thing or something like that, down here in Florida. But it turned out to be that V nickel. That's probably the deepest item I've ever dug with a small coil. But I mean, they have their uses, man. They're well, you found that out already, Craig, with that small coil. You're digging other stuff. It's on, getting in between targets and everything else. It's just another thing to add to your arsenal, really. I have some machines.
Yeah, it's also more sensitive to little tiny things. I mean, it's like, God, I got that key that was, it was probably about maybe 2.5 inches down, but it was straight up and down on edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get it with the 11-inch coil at all. I mean, I would have dug, if I'd heard anything, I would have dug it. But that little coil, picked that thing right out. It's got such a small signature, you got to get the coil right over it, and but I just kind of just inch along, and then when I get a signal, then I'll pick up the speed of the coil to see if, get more discrimination on the sound and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for signals, to dig. I don't care what they are. I mean, I'm just, trying to pick something else out of the yard.
My biggest problem with the small coils was, I've used, several of them with different machines. It's just, you have to be so thorough with the small coil. If you're going to try to overlap by a quarter, and then you pretty much take a step forward, swing, and then you come back a little bit, further away from you, a little bit further away. You can, you take another step and do it all over again. It's so slow and, it can get, just aggravating for me that I'm not making any progress moving forward at all. It's just like, God, you could swing your butt off with a small coil, but there's certain situations that would really come in handy. If you're out in the middle of a field, I would never tell anybody to use a small coil like that. You'd be, you'd be swinging your butt off, and you wouldn't make any progress through the field, and you wouldn't, if you're being thorough. And that's the thing. They're great for somebody's front yard or backyard, or after you've hunted the crap out of it with your 11-inch coil. Yeah, I'd put that small coil. I mean, I put that 7x9 on with the Bliss, and went in your yard. You hadn't really used it yet, and I still pulled targets out of there. You still did too after that. That one, your yard in Alexandria. They have their uses, and it makes any coil you put on your metal detector, it kind of makes it a new metal detector. They react differently. The sound is a little bit different sometimes. They're picking up smaller stuff, bigger stuff, whatever. It's usually smaller stuff with a small coil. And, that's what kind of blew my mind with the Bliss tool when you were using it and digging those percussion caps everywhere. I mean, I couldn't remember the last time I heard of somebody digging a percussion cap, and Craig was digging these things. Just about every single time out, you were digging a percussion cap. They're very small, is Civil War, and he's digging them at 4 and 5 inches down on the ground. I mean, really, that's a very small item. for any detector get at that depth. I've gotten some stuff with the Simplex, like the edges of a mason jar lid and stuff like that, like, broken off, probably about a quarter to the size of a dime at 3 inches at least, which with an 11-inch coil on a $250 machine, $300 machine, whatever, heck yeah. I mean, it's gonna pick up some small stuff. I pick up gears, the little gears from a pocket watch and stuff like that, at decent depth with the Simplex. I mean, I know you've done it with the Equinox also. Those two machines are hot, man. I don't care what anybody says. Those two machines. I know the way you hunt, Craig. I know the way you know how methodical you are, and I'm like, and if Craig Talley's telling me I'm going to go buy one, but I couldn't afford an Equinox, so I had to buy the Simplex, which now I think Craig wants a Simplex. So just put one in each arm, buddy. One in each arm.
It was funny. I didn't buy one until about a year after they came out, and but that machine really caught my attention. When it came out, and I remember getting the when I got the Explorer years ago. And that was a game changer, and with the it did better in mineralized ground. It had the tone ID. It just went deeper. It was multi-frequency,
right?
And I thought, man, I love that sound too. The way that the Mind Labs. A lot of people don't, but I like the way it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But it just to me gave I could go over a silver coin with the Explorer and tell it was silver. Now I can't do that with the Equinox. But I can tell brass. Whenever I go over brass, I know that nuance pretty good. But,
I'm not finding so much nuance with items. Like, even the shotgun shells. I can't say, oh, it's a brass shotgun shell. I can say it's probably another one, and I say it on the video. It's because I've dug 4 of them before this target. But I'm not noticing and maybe it's my ears. I have pretty sensitive ears when it comes to, like with the Bliss tool. I could tell you brass, copper, whatever, but maybe I haven't used the Simplex long enough yet. But I definitely noticed the difference in the elongated beeps, the short, I call it raspy or sharp, or there's so many grindy, or there's so many descriptions. How do you describe a nuance? That we've always said that for the last 4 years. It's hard to describe a nuance in a tone. And with the Simplex, man, it just it gives you such an overwhelming amount of information in the tones themselves. And I think that's the way they were talking about on Relix Radio was that's what the machine was. It was designed to be over the top on some of this stuff. It was supposed to be a better machine, better a different way of looking at how the machine works, through sound, through whatever VDI and everything else. They wanted to make a better machine, a more that would be good for.
Well, just think how over the years we haven't had very good audio on as far as
horrible.
On any machines. I remember even the speakers weren't very good. Pretty junky, cheap.
Yeah.
But, most people use, the headphones. The headphones are a lot better now, too. I mean.
Oh, yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
God, it would, I remember, headphones hardly lasted a year back in the old days before you had to buy another pair because something broke on them.
Yeah, now you got,
out or.
You have Sunray Golds and Killer Bees and Grey Ghost and Wasp and all these. And now you're getting into the wireless. Yeah, I was going to say, you're getting into the wireless brands now that are really good compared to what they were 10 years ago. For the new people in the hobby, I mean, it was a big deal back then. You had lag. Lag was horrible on some of them. You didn't realize it. If you had never owned a metal detector before, or if you never owned a pair of wireless headphones before, like I had this White Spectre V3, and I got the wireless headphones with it. It's probably one of the best, at the time, the best wireless headphones out on the market were with the Whites. They're very durable, very substantial, not cheap. but there was a lag with them. It's not bad. They'd probably fix that by now, Craig, I would think, by circuitry alone. But it, I didn't realize it until I put a wired set of headphones on that machine, just how much I was missing, because when it would beep, I'd be 3/4 of the way over the target or past the target. Swing wise. Now you don't deal with that. I mean, it's like we were just talking about this, like 3 years ago, how, they went to FM for a while instead of Bluetooth. And, it's like a med told me, he goes, Bluetooth technology just hasn't got to that point yet where he could have made something. He had one that was almost zero lag. I mean, very close to zero. You couldn't notice it.
Well,
but it wasn't.
There was one called Clear. It was a different setup, but
mm-hmm.
they, back then they were into probably 2.0 Bluetooth. Now they're up to like 4.2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. They upgraded it up now.
Yeah, but I I don't know. I was I've been so used to these wireless. I was using the Bliss yesterday with the Killer Bees, and when I stuck them on, I went, God, these things are heavy.
Yeah,
I never even thought that before. But
yeah,
his wireless headphones are so light. They just you don't even know they're on hardly.
And I haven't even used this machine with headphones, Craig. I haven't had any headphones on this Simplex at all. I've been doing it strictly. What you guys hear is what I hear. And, it's like, I know if I put a set of headphones on, I'm going to be digging my butt off. I mean, this thing, these whisper tones I'm catching just through the speaker on the machine, that's crazy. I shouldn't be hearing those so easily. So that means, they used a decent speaker on the Simplex. But I get a pair of, headphones on that thing. Watch out, brother. I'll be digging some stuff. I know that. With the Bliss tool, it's the same way. You can catch a whisper tone. I'm digging pieces of brass that's 16 inches down in the ground. You can dig quarters. Well, I did that buried silver dollar with that machine. 31 inches down in the ground, silver dollar, and nailed it. And that was with the V3, for crying out loud. I mean, if you had headphones on, you could really catch that. And very important to wear headphones. I do it because I don't wear headphones because of the videoing. I don't want to sit there and keep on unplugging or turn the ear muff out or whatever you want to call it so you can hear it. I just want to, just try and get an idea about the machine. But if you're new to the hobby, definitely get the, Equinox or whatever you're going to get a set of wireless headphones with it that come with it. I mean, there's really no lag at all that I can tell with like the Quest when I was using the Quest Pro and Craig's using the Equinox. I mean, the technology is caught up a lot more. And it's not going to have a lot of lag there, and it's going to give you a better eye. You're going to find more stuff. That's what the name of the game is: finding more stuff, more treasure. And to do that, to make a job easier, you got to have headphones. I mean, simple as that. I'll go over that site. With my, I'll go back over it with the Bliss tool. I'll go back over it with the Simplex. I know there's tons of targets left in there, and I'll probably get, maybe I'll do that, Craig. I'll just do a video with the headphone part of it. See, just to show it. I like doing the live video. I just, whatever I'm hearing, you're hearing kind of thing. So it's just a different way to learn it, I guess, learn a machine, when they don't have them. Because I think they're now getting into the U.S., but I mean, before that, you don't have any other idea if you don't own one yet. What do they sound like? How they react? That was my theory on making the videos, just to help maybe some of the guys that are thinking about getting them that are already into metal detecting, giving them a better idea. But then I started getting emails left and right about, well, I have a choice between a brand A or a Simplex. Which one should I get? I said, well, this is the pluses and minuses of both of them, and they're pretty close, but I'd get the Simplex.
I've had some people asking about that on Hardcore,
mm-hmm.
Our Facebook page, and I was telling people, I said, they were thinking about, Ace 350, maybe a AT Pro, and I said, I think you can get the same thing or better, with this Simplex for,
Yeah.
I said, Eric's used, he's got a Simplex and he's used the AT Pro, and
yeah,
he's saying this thing's a lot better.
Yeah,
but it's the technology. It's
yeah, that's all it is.
Pro's been around for a while, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great machine, but this, it's like the White Colin was saying on the show on Relics Radio. What was it? Was it 2 nights ago?
Right, Thursday night.
It's just what I've been saying. When I've heard about the price and the performance of this thing, it's a whole game changer. It's just going to force the market in a whole new direction for the good. It's going to be good for the consumer and good for the treasure hunters because we'll be getting a better product for a cheaper price, and it'll be increased competition. I can't wait to see what they're going to come out. I mean, that lady was talking about the engineers are constantly coming up with new ideas for the new software, and it's going to be coming out. This isn't we've had we've had like 2 for the Equinox, and I don't know how many for the Simplex, but this is going to be as they tweak the machine, and they're going to be able to keep improving the performance.
Right.
It's
we have some
software. It's like it's like a software update on your cell phone, or your smartphone. Makes your cell phone even better. Every year or so.
Well, it's like that lady from was it Dietrich? Is her name? The one from
I think it's Delic or Delic.
Delic,
like that.
Yeah, Delic. She mentioned real quick on her that they're already working on things to make the Simplex even better. New programming or whatever. You'll be able to update it, and whatever programs I'm assuming whatever programs they come up with or extras that they can make the machine do. And see, I haven't done any updates at all on the Simplex I have now. I haven't even done it yet. I'm just using it right when it came out of the box. And I'm not using any... Oh, go ahead.
One of the big questions is why they use 12 kilohertz. And
right.
So she started talking about... she almost alluded to, but then she said, I better not say anything else, but we're working on something new.
Right.
The engineers are. And what if they make it into a multi-frequency, down the road, or maybe have it like, you could, have 4 kilohertz, 10, 15, and 12 or whatever.
I think they'll go to a low side, probably a 5 or a 6, and then they're at 12 right now, so they'll probably be a 22 or something like that, or they might even go farther up for more gold. I don't know if it really matters or not, Craig, so much as it did 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, you look at like the Bliss was 8 kilohertz, and I could go to 7.4 with the adjustment on the V6, but with the processors they're using, I don't understand a lot about electronics, internals, but why was that machine? I could hit a gold at a gold chain at 12 inches down in the wet salt sand with the 11-inch coil or 15-inch coil or whatever it was quieter, but it didn't seem to make a difference. Now when you went over with the Excalibur, it couldn't hear a thing in all metal. So I don't know why, some of these, there may be a trick to it. Or not a trick, but just, it reacts better with the technology. That's why they went to 12. And I know that the Quest is 13 kilohertz or 13 point. Well, I'm gonna say 13, but it's probably 13 point something on the Quest Pro, and that's what I would hunt. And I could hunt in. I had a choice of 3 different frequencies I could hunt in individually, and 13 was the best. So I mean, 12 was not that far off. So I mean, it's how they have it wired, what reacts better, I guess. I wish I had a background in electronics. Some of these guys are damn smart, Craig. These guys that are making these machines, coming up with these machines. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that have ideas to make these machines even better, but they weren't. Well, they weren't allowed to follow through.
Yeah, this software thing is a whole new thing. It's just like in the processors. Those are the 2 things that are totally different than we've had in the past. The chips, are getting so much faster and faster.
I like Bill Marsh's point right here. He goes, the Simplex will be upgraded to the Complex. I like that.
Yeah.
Bring on the Complex, baby. I'll use it. You know,
I ought to patent that name.
you should, Craig. You came up with it. I think you did anyway. You said it about a month ago or 2 months ago, something like that. Well, Craig.
Yeah.
Craig and I talked off air. Obviously about the Simplex, and I was thinking about getting one. He goes, "I don't know. Maybe you should wait until they come into the country. Like there's a bunch of them." And I just couldn't. I couldn't wait any longer. I had my chance to get one. I saw it online, and I was able to get my hands on it. And I'm like, I'm glad I did, Craig. I mean, it's not that it's not the best metal detector I've ever used, but doggone, it's doing pretty doggone good. I mean, I'm going to it before I go to the Blisstal, and I'm diehard Blisstal. You guys know that. I mean, I'll put that machine up against anybody. So.
Eric, have you ever had a machine that was under $300?
Yeah, and I've had several of them. They didn't. I don't know. They didn't do much for me. I mean, I had a Quest.
Saying.
I mean, God, and I'm not even beating up their machines. I mean, I had the Quest 20, 40, and Quest Pro. Quest 20, hey, it was okay for somebody that was just like a kid or something like that. The Quest 40, hey, it hit a dime at 8 or 9 inches down. That's pretty doggone good. But hey, nothing compared to a Simplex. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, the Simplex will eat them up, and I'm not. It's just the way they made it, Craig. It's all I can come up with. It's doing stuff that kept my interest up. I enjoy using that machine. When I go out, I don't even think about, well, am I going to bring the Blisstal? Nah, I'll just leave it home. That's what I do. I throw the Simplex in the truck, and it sits next to in the seat next to me, and we talk going down the road. It's just it's I don't know. It could very easy. I'm going to take it to the Florida hunt in February, whatever it is. I can't remember now. I'm going to take it to that hunt. I have no problem with doing that. I understand the machine good enough, and I feel comfortable with it, and I know deep items what it's going to do. It's a pretty doggone good machine. And it's lightweight. It's easy to transport. I mean, what more can you want? It's like taking an Equinox. If I had an Equinox, I'd take it. But for
I was just thinking, what if you had instead of a screen, you have glasses, and then you have earbuds off the glasses into your ears, and then whenever you get a signal, it shows up on your glasses.
No, I thought that'd be kind of cool. Well, I mean, like I have a pair of glasses that has it along the edge where you're looking and you see it on it's like Sci-Fi's channel now, but along the edge of your eyeglasses where not in direct sight, but you can see okay, VDI number, or you can see signal strength or something like that. I mean, Hendrix was doing some stuff with lighting. With the Blisstal didn't have a screen or nothing, but he came up with his own way of making essentially a green light or red light meter. And when it went over silver or gold, anything non-ferrous, it was always a green light, and it would move up so far. I mean, he did that on his own. These guys like a mad scientist or something like that. I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool, Craig, having a pair of glasses or something like that, so you didn't have to look down at the machine. That's what I always found, that I was doing with a metered machine. I was always looking down at my, essentially at my wrist, trying to see what the VDI is and stuff.
Well, you see AR and like Oculus, they got this crazy 3D world that you're in, with this headset. And I hear Apple is, going to come out with glasses in a few years, or maybe next year, where the information you can get it right onto your glasses, in real time. But and then they're going to blend like real time and AR at the same, where you can embed stuff in reality.
Right. Well, you look at all they have these, Craig, even the kind of metal detectors we use, they're already starting to change a little bit more. I mean, we're seeing more ground penetrating radar kind of detectors. I mean, I know that Nokta Macro has one. The not the Amphibio, it's the it's the one that has a screen. You're actually looking in the ground like kind of thing.
Yeah.
You see several. That technology is getting better and better and better. And now you're even talking about now with drones. They put a LiDAR up there, and they could tell where bedrock is. They were doing it on Gold Rush Whitewater, where they went through with this drone with this LiDAR, and it could tell them, no matter what's on the ground, trees and stuff like that, but where is the bedrock located at, and it would make like a topo map, and that way they can find where the gold catches were. Where going down the river where the holes were, where the gold nuggets would be falling into, acting more like a sluice box. If they can do that, and they're also doing it on sites now, and it's not LiDAR, it's something else they're using, and not infrared. I don't know, but they can tell where old structures were by ground from satellite. Satellites up in space or whatever. They can look down at the Earth and tell where structures were, where buildings or rivers used to run. I mean, the technology it's just in its infancy right now. I think in another 10 or 15 years, where we're going to be at. I mean, your metal detector, it may just be one process as the beep. You may be looking at a screen that's going to tell you approximate size of a target, and everything else. I can tell you where ground disturbances are already. They've been able to do that. I mean, the guy from Detect America, what's his name? Shoot. Try to remember his name now. Frank. Yeah, Frank was, he found, the gravesite of up there at the CWPPO hunt using ground penetrating radar. Some of these guys are fantastic with that. I mean, I don't know if it's for me or not. I mean, I don't like looking at a screen and looking at a bunch of lines. But, it'd be interesting to try it out to see how it can adapt. Is how accurate is it? How, are you going to be able to tell individual targets somewhat? I mean, they're doing that a little bit. I've seen some, different videos. It's very interesting. Whether they can incorporate that into a normal metal detector, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a possibility, and, anything's possible.
What if they take that LiDAR, technology and scan the whole Earth? They've already found crazy stuff down in Central America.
Yep.
I want to see them go over the Amazon with that thing. I bet they find civilizations that go back, 20,000 years probably down in there. Well, that got covered over by the jungles over the millennia. But it's going to be amazing. What if they could do that on the bottom of the ocean?
Well, yeah, they're very far from it. I mean, they're not. I don't think they are, anyways. We've seen such a technology jump in the last 15 years. Really, it just blows my mind. As far even far as metal detectors go. I mean, when you think about it, when I think about it, anyways, you have the technology of a metal detector. How much has it really, really changed up until about 10 years ago? It really has. They've taken the same theory and tried to boost it one way or another. Prior to 10, 15 years ago, they were just boosted. It's like having a 350 engine, Chevrolet engine, and putting, you put a turbo on it, you do this, you do that. There's only so much horsepower you can get. There's only so much speed you can get out of it before you have to change your whole theory about and add another cylinder or whatever, a different kind of engine, bigger, cubic inches or whatever. And that's where I think where we were at. They did all they could do with like the Tesoro and stuff like that, the older school metal detectors with that theory. Now they had to get outside the box and start looking at these different chips and stuff like that.
I started thinking about it. The Mine Lab has been using electronics for a long time. That's instead of the regular, old style electronics that it wasn't really electronics. It was just regular circuit boards and stuff, but now they're going to the chips, and so the companies, that aren't going to go to that, that are still in the old way, if they don't, jump to the new stuff pretty quick, they're going to be wiped out, I think. It's going to be a shame, but we've already seen Tesoro, they didn't last, and, I'm hearing stuff from other guys about other companies, that they're worried about. I won't mention them, but it's like Nokta and Mine Lab and Deus are, basically, running away from the rest of the field.
Yeah.
As far as I can see.
And it's not that the other detectors aren't good. Guys, if you own I don't care, an E-Track or I don't know, White Spim XT or whatever. Not that they're bad machines. God, I made tons of good finds with them, and I probably still would be making good finds if I had one. Uh, it's just it, it's just different. These newer ones are different. There's something about them that it's all new, and the possibilities. And there's not a lot of adjustments on this. Some of these detectors, like the Simplex, I literally have been turning the machine on. I think I started ground balancing a little bit with it, and I moved the sensitivity, and I moved the iron volume. You can turn the iron volume down to off if you want to. I leave it on 1. That's all I did with the machine, and I go on out there. I haven't even done an update with this machine yet. I haven't even done the update. I wanted to take it out like a total newbie. What would they do? They come out there and they turn the machine on and they start metal detecting. I mean, we've seen it all the time. I mean, when Craig, how many discussions do we have with people? Okay, now you need to ground balance. Now you need to turn your gain down. I spent hours and hours on the phone with people over the years, with the Bliss tool and with several other detectors. That you can't just turn some of these machines on and go. I mean, they have preset programs and they work good, but really the Equinox, you told me that, Craig, you just turned it on and went. And I did that with the Simplex, turn it on and go. See if it is true turn on and go. Because I've had companies say, oh yeah, it's a turn on and go machine. Yeah, right. You turn it on and go and you don't find nothing, or you find a bunch of nails. It depends on the company and the way they do stuff, I guess.
Well, it's kind of funny where people get these, high dollar machines and then they're in preset. And I go, that's kind of a waste. I mean, why don't you get a, midline machine if you're not going to use the, capabilities of the machine? And nowadays you don't really have to figure it out yourself. You can go on, all these forums on Facebook and stuff. There's, I like the UK guys, and they really tear the machines apart over there. They got guys that have been doing this for a long, long time, and but also you see, when the Equinox has come out, and ever since there's a ton of videos, about it, and now the Simplex is kind of dominating. It's such a new machine. There's so many. I haven't heard a negative review yet about.
I've had some guys try to play games and say, it doesn't, it may work there, but it won't work on a beach, and it won't do this, and it won't. You know what? Unless you have one in your hands and you use it yourself, you need to steer away from making those kind of claims. It just makes you kind of look, ignorant. I've had a few do that. I'm like, really, I knew the guy was full of it, but I just told him, I said, oh, I haven't had mine on the beach yet. Have you? What did you find out about it? And I never got an answer. So that's one thing with Dietrich, right? I can't remember her name. God, I'm horrible with names. But anyways, the lady, she mentioned that again. And it's like, don't worry about these naysayers, these haters. I mean, you guys have a good machine there. Doggone.
It's part of the. It's part of the program.
Yeah. Don't take it offensively. Don't let it get you stirred up. It's just. You're going to have haters out there, or people that don't want you to, succeed or whatever. When you have a good machine, just go with it. Don't worry about it so much. It hurt her feelings, I think, more than anything else. But I know what it's like to love a machine so that it does a good job. It's a good product. Just stand by it.
We went through the same kind of crap with some people. You get these haters out there, and some of these people are really vicious.
Oh yeah.
But you got to really get steel in your backbone. You got to get ready for it. I've been in business. I started, in the tennis business, and tennis rackets are kind of like metal detectors. They make all these claims on it's going to make you a better player, and I go, no, it isn't.
No.
Practice is going to make you a better player.
That's right. You got to get out there.
Yeah.
You could have
I've seen guys outperform people with a midline machine because they got better technique and they're running this. They're going slower.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Targets.
You can go out, guys, and if you're new to the hobby, don't go out. Well, as a matter of fact, it doesn't matter. You can go out and spend $9,000 on a GPZ, or you can go out and buy I don't care, whatever it is, a midline sector. You know what? You don't really know anything about either one since you're brand new to the hobby. It does come down to how much you're willing to learn about the machine. I mean, if you can have the most expensive machine in the world, but if you're not using it right, you're not going to have the success with it. A person that goes out and buys a GPX or something, damn good pulse machines. I mean, I know a lot of guys have them and they're very good with them, but there is a learning curve with any machine you buy. I don't care if it's a Walmart special or a CTX or whatever the heck it is. There is a learning curve to them, and with the Simplex, the learning curve isn't necessarily using it, actively swinging and stuff. It's learning to listen with your ears and understand what the signals are telling you, along with the VDIs and everything like that. It just takes a little bit of practice, but you could put a machine like this in a novice hand, and you can have Craig using one, start out with it at the same time, and you're probably going to get the same results if they have any kind of a swing, decent Craig, as far as covering the ground properly. They can compete with you a little bit. It's a very versatile machine, and I think even on that aspect, the Equinox is. Yeah, it's a little bit more of a learning curve with the Equinox, I think, but there's a lot more adjustments you can make with the Equinox also. It's more of a professional end machine. It's a higher up machine. Simplex is simple. I like the name of it actually, Craig, because it really is. It just, you have sensitivity, you have ground balance, you can notch out stuff, you can turn iron volume this way and that way. The backlight. I mean, it's just a very basic as far as the menu goes, but that's what it was meant to be. From what they were saying, they wanted to make a machine that, a brand new person could pick up and have success with. And, it'd be good for a guy that maybe has 20 years experience or whatever. He could pick it up and have fun with. That's what I'm doing. I'm having fun with the machine. I enjoy taking the thing out there. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't done anything bad yet. I can't figure out anything it's done bad. Really, I mean, Craig has impressed me in a lot of aspects. I did not have great expectations of this machine when I got it. I was hoping it would be at least half as good as what I saw on the videos, but it's impressed me. I mean, I'll use it, and I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a decent machine. It has new technology in it, and it can bring the fun to the hobby. People that are not very good with metal detectors or are just getting started can actually have success with the machine a lot better than you could with, a same price machine. Put it that way, Craig. Entry level.
I just thought of another way this changes everything. It's a decent machine where you're not throwing away your money.
No.
How many people they don't know if they're going to like it or not, and they don't want to spend more than $200 or $300 or $500.
Whatever,
and even 500 is a good bit of money unless you you're hooked on metal detecting like we are. but anyway, it's a decent machine. I mean, it's better than decent. It's actually a pretty good machine. And
I wouldn't use it unless it was. I mean, I wouldn't be using it right now. I would have got rid of it already if it was not up to snuff. I would have sold it after the first couple times out. I would have got rid of it. I mean, to be honest with you, Craig, I'm not going to sit there and use a machine that, I know, if it's not producing it, it's not doing it.
I just started thinking, there's certain people that buy, they buy the cheap machine and then, they end up not, liking the hobby, because they're not really finding anything, and or maybe they're not on the right spot or whatever. But it's frustrating. I see some of these machines. I've never had really low end machines, but when I'm watching on YouTube when some of these guys are using them, I see how slow the response is on them. They're just not getting the depth or the discrimination. And but that's what we used to have to deal with years ago.
You could put this machine in a 10-year-old's hands with very little instruction. Hey, this is how you turn it on. This is the volume. Swing it like this, and and overlap by a quarter. And if it makes a beep, dig. I mean, that's pretty much what you could tell them. Where with a lot of other machines, there's a lot of other adjustments. If they bump knobs, or the menu button or whatever, this machine you have to mean to pinpoint. You have to mean to change settings. The buttons aren't like hair triggered. You got to push down on them. One guy was making it, well, the buttons are hard to push. Well, you know what? Hey, I'd rather have a hard, because I've used machines where you could bump the doggone thing and knock stuff out of whack. And like the Bliss tool, you bump that toggle. How many times have you done that, Craig? Bump it into toggle one, and you're not hearing nothing. It's like, oh my God, what an idiot! I hit the button or hit the toggle again. It's and you imagine being new to the hobby and doing that, and you spend 3 hours and you're not finding anything and wondering why. It would just dishearten you.
It's like all the buttons on the Equinox. You click them. You have to push and
push down.
It clicks, But it's also nice to have a waterproof machine.
I can't tell you how many times you get rained on.
Worry about all this stuff. It's God. I used to bring like plastic bags with me, just wrap the the control
Oh yeah,
part
well,
of
like
it
the Bliss tool I did that with. I extended the rear, the upper shaft on it. I extended it out about another 3 or 4 inches so I can mount the box back there. That way, if I ever got into a rainstorm down here, which it rains in Florida all the time, we're getting rain all day tomorrow, apparently, but I could take a 1 gallon Ziploc bag, slide it over top of the control box to keep the water off of it, because it's not designed, it wasn't even water resistant. A good rainstorm, I'd fry my detector. With the Simplex or the Equinox, heck, throw them in the water. You drop them in the water. I've dropped the Simplex 3 times already. Standing there digging and just let go, by accident let go and hit it didn't hurt. It didn't, they're durable enough. I know the Equinox is too. I mean, I'm not saying walk over and smash it against a tree or something like that, or throw it in a river and expect to find it, but it's going to handle getting sprayed. You can wash it down with a water hose, if you wanted to. You're not going to hurt these machines, not under normal conditions. Really, I was surprised. Oh, go ahead, Craig. Sorry.
Well, the other good thing is, you got this, you don't have to buy batteries anymore for these machines.
I hunt for 7 or 8 hours, Craig, and I only use 1 bar. It's like 4 bars on it's like your cell phone. The cell phone bars or whatever when it goes up. I'm down 1 bar after hunting 7 hours. I'm sorry, I don't know very many people that would hunt for more than 10 hours straight. I mean, if you are, you're hardcore anyways, because me and Craig do it and we're beat to death. But we go out there again the next day and do it all over again. It just, but we still didn't, on most of our machines, the ones with the rechargeable battery, they last. I think it's good. I can't remember what they said, 16 hours, Craig? Something like that. Now, when you do get down low on, I don't remember either totally, but I know that one thing you're going to have a problem with if your battery starts getting low is it's going to start falsing. It gets unstable. That was a classic thing with the White's machines and with the Mine Labs. It would start getting erratic when the voltage start getting too low, so you had to charge it up. But with the Simplex, and I think with the Equinox, you could buy an external battery pack for these. I'm almost positive of it. And I think somebody mentioned that. And plug that external battery packet right into it, and you're golden. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So, I mean, it's a solution.
I think it was on Rigton or one of those. They had this thing where it actually mounted underneath on the pole, and somehow they, you could.
There's actually a track on the Simplex. It's like a little track kind of thing. The way it's made, I was telling Pauline about that, my wife. I said it looks like they designed this for aftermarket products, like a battery pack, like I don't know. It's just that upper shaft on the Simplex. I was thinking about stuff I could add to it for myself, to make whatever, I don't know, pinpointer, slide in or whatever. It has room to be adjusted, or to add stuff to it. And there's a little track on there. I'm thinking that's for an external battery. I'm not positive on that. I mean, I don't know what they have planned, they're already talking about, they're coming out with a smaller coil, upgrades to this thing already. I mean, I know that the Equinox same way, but I do know that the Simplex, they've got the detector shaft down pat. I don't have any wobble. We talk about wobble on here. A lot of these detectors, even I don't know, you get that wobble, and when you swing, you get that breakaway point, Craig. The Simplex don't have that, and I swing that. I hit brush with it, with stubble, everything else. Anything it bangs into, it doesn't false. We used to have that problem years ago with, every time you bumped
oh my God,
corn stalk.
Yeah,
God, it drive me crazy.
It's like, there used to be so much noise when you're getting like little sticks and stuff on the ground, and God.
It's like a hypersensitive coil or something, but no, I'm going through, 8-inch tall grass and grinding it down in there and banging it into these little sapling trees and hitting it on the ground, and I'm not getting any kind of falsing or whatever out of it. I mean, maybe once in a blue moon or something I might get something, but it's not anywhere near. I mean, even the Bliss tool, when you bounce stuff off of it, or the White's machines, whatever, you could bang into stuff, and you do get a little chirp here and there, but it would get unruly sometimes, especially if the battery started getting low. Then it was nuts. But the Simplex hasn't done that. I mean, it hasn't done it to me, anyways, but. And I swing, well, you've seen the way I swing, Craig. I mean, I bang into stuff and everything else, but I bumped that big tree. I was going around it, getting up there on where the root system is, banging into stuff, and it wasn't chirping or making any kind of noise. So, heck, hats off to them. They made a good detector shaft and a good coil. I guess the one coil they had on there at one time was messing up when it got into like wet grass or something, but they fixed that problem right off the bat. That's one thing I liked about Nokta Macros. They took it. They knew there was a problem, and they fixed it. So hey,
it was one batch, and I guess they caught it real quick, and they recalled them all. And
yep.
I think some guys in the UK found
they were having a problem with them.
They discovered it. Yeah,
but they took the machine.
Only one batch. It wasn't all the coils that were doing that. It was just this one batch.
Right. But they took it upon themselves. That's a good customer service, though, Craig. That's a great customer service. Some companies, in the past would have, and we'll just, and they make you come and send it back to them and go through all this rig and roll. Nokta Macro took it and said, hey, you know what? We're not going to send these out yet. We're going to figure out what the problem is, fix it, and then we'll send them out. That's the right thing to do. That's it. It's just a customer market out there, a buyer's market.
Well, you have to, or you lose your business. That's just the way it goes. I mean, you got to have customer service. You see, when you don't have customer service, people, get upset, and they feel like, hey, you don't even care about it. You just get my money, and that's it. But a lot of these companies, they're going to come out with better products down the road, and they want loyal customers. That. Come back to their products. Yep. Look how loyal a lot of people there are that metal detect.
I know.
A lot of people.
Well, the White's company is one of them. I don't know what White's is right now, as far as what their customer, but they've always had. Anytime I had a White's machine, best customer service I've ever gotten was from White's. I mean, I had a problem. I send it to them. I get it back within a week or so. I always had extras in the box. We're sorry for the problem. We figured it out. It was this, that, or the other thing. No question. I never charged me, any extra money unless it was obviously my fault that it happened. But, great customer service. I'm actually, Craig, I'm looking for, I think White's needs to, they need to come up with something. White's is an American company. They've been around for years. They've been making machines since, 59, 58? I'd love to see White step up with a, kind of new concept metal detector, something to compete with all these other ones. I mean, I think they should be. Minelab's doing it. Nokta Macro. Well, it wasn't that long ago. It was Nokta or Macro. I mean, if they got together or whatever, and the engineers of these machines. I mean, hats off to them. They're really doing a good job.
They got a lot of loyal customers, especially the older people that use these machines back in the 70s and 80s and stuff, and
just marketing these machines, Craig.
When I first started, White's was like number one. I mean,
yep.
They were just kicking butt.
Yeah. Now they put out a good machine. Like I said, even the MXTs, the DFXs, all of them. I got some guys that still use the Coin Masters and stuff like that. They enjoy them. They know them. They know how to use them. I can't get the same performance they do out of them. I mean, but I didn't spend as much time with them either. With the machines. I spent, I don't know, 3.5 years with the White Spectra V3i, or V3, and then had it turned into a V3. I spent 3.5 years with that machine. Knew it backwards and forwards. MXT's the same way. Good solid machines. You know, it's hard to say. It's whatever you can afford, man. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you don't feel better, you can buy a used machine. Craig and I talk about that all the time. Go online, and if you want a Deus, or you want a CTX, or if you want a, white MXT, go online, man. There's a lot of used machines out there that are good, solid machines, and it's just guys selling them like I sold my Quest Pro. I know I'm not going to use the machine. I didn't, it wasn't what I was looking for. It's not that it's a bad machine. It just wasn't what I was looking for. And I sold it, and, here I go and, hey, well, I'm going to get a Simplex now. I got some extra money, and, hey, I'll get one of these, and I really like the machine. I've had AT Pros, I've had F75s, I had, the Fisher F75 and everything. I don't keep a machine very long if it's not exactly what I want it to do, but that's part of metal detecting. That, it's like, you gotta like the performance of the machine. It doesn't matter so much about looks. I mean, I've always said it doesn't matter if it's pink and purple. If it gets me good relics, I don't care. But with it's always a plus. Like the Simplex. I mean, the Simplex looks cool. I mean, it's got a good, the way it's set up. It feels good when you swing it. The arm cuff is not loose or no wobble.
It's got that modern look.
Yeah.
The Quest, the Equinox, and the Simplex all have that same look. They get the cell phone instead of a bulky screen. They got the battery inside the handle.
Yeah.
The machine looks super modern. I mean,
even the Deus, Deus is still better than most of them are with looks, and being light and everything. Craig, I mean, we keep on leaving the Deus is. I've been around for a while. Well, it's still good.
Well, they got the ORX.
Yeah, the ORX.
Starting to use, and that's a more reasonable, price machine.
Mm-hmm. And I'd use a Deus if I could get my hands on one. I'd use one. I'm not saying we don't beat up. There's no reason to beat up a machine. They all have their pros and cons. Some do some things better, other ones do. It's just a mixed bag sometimes on a lot of machines. And we have multiple. Craig has multiple machines. I do too, because it's like, okay, I go over it with the Simplex. Now I'll go over it with the Bliss Tool. That's a cleanup machine. I mean, I know that the Simplex is not going to get the depth that a Bliss Tool does. Absolutely not. But it doesn't mean that Simplex isn't better for some things for me, because I can find non-ferrous with that Bliss Tool in a heartbeat, but I can't tell you what it's going to be. I can't tell you the difference between, other than sound, I can't tell you the difference between, silver and brass. Where with Simplex, I can go to the VDI side of it, and I can use that as extra information, and I can tell you about what I'm going to dig. Or, especially if I'm getting, as far as discriminating iron, the Bliss Tool's going to discriminate iron. You're going to knock out an axe head, but still get a coin right next to it. Is the Simplex going to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't gotten that situation, but I know that it unmasks unbelievably well. Because I'll get nail, and then, oh, wait a minute, the signal's still in there. Get another nail, then all of a sudden, boom, I'm digging non-ferrous. I get that non-ferrous piece out of there. I get nothing but iron. So that tells me, you know what, it unmasks better than most of the machines I've had. It just gives you that little bit of an edge to add to your arsenal. And you can let your kid use it. You can let anybody. Well, one guy, Craig, it was funny. He says, well, I'm kind of tossed up. I was going to get an AT Pro Gold or whatever, Max or whatever, AT Max. And he goes, well, then I saw the Simplex. What do you think? I said, well, I've had the AT Pro, and, I like the machine. It's good. It's one of the best-selling machines in the world. I said, but, I'm looking at the Simplex. He goes, well, I said, if you're looking at price point, I go with the Simplex. And he wants something that his 8 or 10-year-old can use unsupervised. Hey, okay, I'm going to go with the Simplex there. And then, he says, well, I don't know. I'm kind of tossed up. I said, I don't know, brother. I said, what, you can look at it like this. You can buy 2 Simplexes versus 1 AT Pro. And he started laughing, but it's true. You know what I mean, Craig? I mean, for 2 Simplex, you know what I mean? You can have one for you and your kid. Or you can buy one for your kid and, you get the AT Pro for yourself and get the Simplex for the kid. And then you can steal the kid's metal detector and let them use the AT Pro. But I was just telling one of the bartenders there at the Post there, she has oh God, what is he about? I think she has a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old boy. And they watch all the treasure shows on TV, the Gold Rush and all that stuff, and the boys are really into that. And she was kind of asking me, and she goes, "Well, should I buy?" I said, "You know what? I'm going to see what I can do, and I'm when they get into this country real good. There's more about there. I know I can get my hands on one of these for, maybe a used one. Somebody doesn't like whatever about it. I'm going to buy them one and let them play." She goes, "Oh, great, they're going to dig up my whole yard." I said, "Like rototillers, baby." And she just starts laughing. And she's a mom that's really involved. Like she goes out and buys her boys a John boat with a motor, and she takes them out on the river and stuff like that. She's like a tomboy in herself, but, she likes the idea of them going out and finding, having a hobby that, well, they get to play in the dirt. They get to be boys or girl. If you have girls, same way. Girls are, just as much into metal detecting as the boys are, so, they can go out there and have fun in the backyard. She can keep an eye on them. She knows, what, what's the worst that can happen, they I don't know, whatever. Boys are going to get hurt regardless, Greg. I know I raised 2 of them, but my daughter get hurt more than they would when she does stuff. So I don't know. As long as they're having fun, that you keep track of them and, but not to the point where you have to be a bother. You can kind of keep an eye on them from across the yard and they're out metal detecting, or take them out to the park and let them metal detect, to the beach. You can sit there and get a tan and let the kids metal detect. I mean, what could be better? So, so I just told her, so I'm gonna get them one of them, or I'll find one for them to use. Maybe I just thought the Simplex was a nice match. You don't have to have so much supervision with it. Show them how to use it. Show them how to dig. They're good. So, and you can borrow it, Craig. I told her she could steal it and go metal detecting.
Yeah.
So maybe find a gold ring or 2. So. So, anyway, guys, heck, Craig, it's almost 9:45. I think I'm done for tonight. I'm going to try to get out metal detecting tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's supposed to storm like crazy tomorrow. It's weird. Every time it does this, we usually have one hell of a hurricane season coming the next year, but hopefully that's not the case. We've been getting some weird rainstorms, weather jumping up into the 80s and back down into the 40s, and craziness. And you're in, 17-degree weather up there. Y'all are snowed in, or whatever, cold in.
Yeah, we're supposed to get a heat wave in about 2 days. It's supposed to be a high of 50.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to do our show, and Craig, I haven't even talked to you yet, but we're going to do Monday morning show. And do you mind doing one on Christmas, Craig?
No,
Wednesday.
Not really.
Okay, well, we'll do a Christmas show. On Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. If tune in if you can, or catch it on the archives. And then Craig and I are going to be on Relics Radio, with Loy and Mark and Jeff on Thursday night, which we haven't done a Thursday night show in a while. But we're going to be on their show as guests, I guess. So we don't even know what's going to happen. That might be a crazy show, Craig. So y'all might want to tune into it. Me and Loy get talking, and Craig get talking, and I don't know. It might be.
Well, that was a pretty funny show the other night.
Yeah,
and, I liked it right at the end where the guy was giving away rings. Oh, he's giving away a ring, and then they had 2 guys with the same name, and one guy that actually won it didn't call in at first, and the other guy did, and thought, well, maybe I got the wrong number, and so Lloyd goes ahead and gives the guy the ring, and then the real guy calls in. So Lloyd's going, oh, my God.
Then the girl called in, didn't she? The young girl calls in like.
No, she was on chat.
Oh, okay.
About
8 or 9 years old. Yeah.
And so she said that her name was, I think it was like Kevin Smith or something like that.
Right, right.
And so everybody was laughing, so she got a ring too. So
It
that was
sucked,
pretty
man.
funny.
I was on it, listened to it on the cell phone while I was driving, and I was trying to, you're not supposed to text and drive, so I come to a stop sign, text, and then, or whatever, post up on the chat, and then start driving again or whatever. And I finally pulled over, and I was on my way home, and I'm texting or messaging up, and then all of a sudden I lose the sound, so I have to restart the show or whatever. I had to get out of my cell phone, whatever, and exit out of it and come back to Spreaker.com to go back to the show. And by then there was so many people chat. I mean, Bill Marsh is on there, and Barbara and all you guys were on there, and the chat is going 100 miles an hour, and I can't keep up. But I was talking to that. I think I said, I have a Simplex and I like it, a lot. And then she said, I want one, or I don't know if she had one or not, but at any rate, I was trying to text her back, and then I was trying to text Bill back one time, and then Michael Boyles was on. I mean, everybody was on that show that night. It seemed like it was just blowing up. And, I kept on losing the doggone sound on my cell phone. I was ready to chuck it out the window. If I was home on my laptop or something, it would have been different. I'd probably just signal-wise is what was going on. But I ended up saying, the heck with it and just turning the show off. And then I went and listened to the archives. I'm like, man, I missed a good show, so I had to go back and listen to it. And, I hunted with, Craig and I hunted with Dwight and Brian. They're up there at the CWPPO hunt. And, I was thinking about it, Craig. We met a lot of good people up there at that hunt. We think Mark Hoover and Dwight Collin and Brian Robinson and
they were kind of starting, that they were just kind of starting
up,
at
yeah.
Point,
Or Dave,
cool.
Dave from, Don't Tread on Me and God, a whole bunch of people. I mean, that just were kind of getting started or been doing it for a little while, whatever. But we were, even Howard Hewitt. We got to hang out with Howard for a while, from Dig Fellas and shoot, so many people. That was a really good hunt. Sam Waters and Evan Creedy and so many. It was a lot of fun. Even when I did the Florida Hunt 4 hunt, Greg Pomato puts that on and got to meet up. Well, Mark was at that one too, and then Michael Boyles and just Mike Miller. There was a lot of lady hunters out there. They belong to the Central Florida Metal Detecting Club, and I can't remember. I think her name was Tracy. I don't know. She found a barber dime up there, Craig, and I didn't know who I was talking, because we know these people by the internet. We don't, the photos. I didn't know faces and everything. And, she's one of the best, relic hunters in that club anyway. She always finds stuff. She's very, very methodical in the way she hunts and stuff like that. And she had found it turned out to be a barber dime. And she couldn't read it. She goes, I don't even know what it is. And I'm sitting there, I'm getting my little spy glass out and everything. I go, you got a barber dime? She goes, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, yep. And, it was just fun to hang out, and it didn't matter what you found anything or not. I mean, we all want to find stuff, but Craig tore it up there at the CWPPO, and I was digging musket balls and pistol bullets. That's what I was on. But, you never know when you're going to have that day, Craig. One day you're digging trash, the other day you're digging treasure. You just got to hunt the same. You got to be methodical, and if you get your coil over it, great. If you don't, just come out the next day and do it. It wasn't about the treasure. It was about hanging out and having fun. So,
sometimes it's luck.
Yeah.
Luck sometimes too.
It's like the Dippa hunt. We cleaned up at the Dippa hunt up there in up in Horsham, Pennsylvania. Me and Craig digging dandy buttons and flat buttons and musket balls and this and that and the other thing. And some people didn't dig a doggone thing. It comes down to the luck of the draw sometimes, and but we met a lot of good people. Hell, we had, I don't know, 9 or 10 hunters from Florida up there that, Mike Miller and Paul Hill and I don't know. There were so many of them from Florida that came up there and just made a special point to go to it. And we do a lot of the hunts down here, like the Fort DeSoto hunt with the Suncoast Research and Recovery Club. And, we do it for a good cause. We don't keep any of the stuff. We give it all to the little museum right there at the Fort DeSoto Park. And we've made a lot of good finds over the years. We've found, just buttons and bullets and insignia, from the officers and stuff. And this is back what, War of 1812, Craig, or something like that. Or no, it's I'm sorry, Spanish American War. And that it's just nice to be able to do something back. Give them those relics so they have them to put in a museum. And let other people see them. That's the that was the idea of that. And being able to hunt a county park, you can't hunt state parks and stuff down here in Florida. So being able to hunt a county park, as long as the ranger was there, was a good thing. We do it twice a year, with that club, and we're the only ones allowed in there. And we find stuff every single time we go out there. And usually it's Mike Miller. And Mike Miller, well, Craig, you hunted with Mike Miller. He was up there at the CWPPO. That is one damn good hunter right there now. He's 76 years old, and he's out there in the Gulf of Mexico, chest deep water, metal detecting for 8 hours straight. The guy's a war horse, so complete animal. But I bring Mike up, I invite Mike and Mark over a couple of different times to a couple of my sites because I thought I was losing my mind not finding anything. Turns out, hey, they didn't find anything either. So I'm pretty much, I start thinking it's me, and I bring Mike out. Mike goes, no, this place, there ain't nothing here. They filled it in. I say, that's what I thought too. But, I brought him up here to hunt down there in Croom out in the sticks. Mark thought I was taking him somewhere and get rid of his body or something like that. We were about a mile back into dirt roads and everything else. These little sugar sand traps, I call them. And, Mike goes out there and he dug like 27 bullets. Most of those were Seminole Indian bullets, round balls and stuff like that. And Mark got several bullets. I don't think they were anything real old, but we didn't know what we were going to get, Craig. It's just a crapshoot, but we had a fun time. We go grab lunch, or whatever else. And, heck, we had a good time out. That's all that mattered. So, but... All right, guys. Well, probably wrap it up, Craig. And, like I said, we'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. And we're going to be on Relics Radio on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at 7 p.m. Central Time. So, guys, check it out. Maybe call in, too, and we could have a big party on Loy's show. Christmas party or after Christmas party or something. Anyways, guys, you have a good night. Be safe. Everybody have a Merry Christmas if I don't get back to you sooner. And we'll talk to you on Monday morning. Catch you later.